Emergency Services Grant Program Advisory Committee. The date is Thursday, November 13th, 2025, and this is our third grant review meeting for the fall 2025 Emergency Services Grant Round, which is open to fire protection districts and departments that serve Boulder County in whole or in part. So since this is our third meeting and the committee has made much progress in reviewing the 21 grant proposals that we've received for this round, I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen, call up the current leaning towards recommendations. And as a note, this is where the committee has gotten in the last two meetings. Those that are colored in green were recommended for full funding. One is sitting perhaps to be reduced in cost if it's decided there needs to be money taken from one place prior to the final recommendations. The others are either in orange, and for various reasons, which I'll go over. Yellow is kind of coming back to them. There was an idea of holding off until other decisions were made and then coming back and looking at the yellow ones. And we have quorum. Great. To start off, last time, as some of you may recall, I had some technical difficulties. My Wi-Fi completely collapsed and I was cut off of the meeting for about 5 or 10 minutes. And there was a discussion around the Boulder County Firefighters Association request for EMS training that would be done in Boulder County, either at Lyons or Netherland. There was a suggestion of reducing the amount. Some of that I just wasn't able to fully capture. And so I'm hoping that we can quickly recount what the committee's, if not decision, at least vote was on that. And as I sent out in our pre-meeting notes this evening, there was some correction to information that was talked about last time in terms of these classes. These EMS training classes are no longer available from the state for free at community colleges, that money was part of the COVID grant money and it has run out. So currently there is no EMS training being offered by Boulder County or in Boulder County that is available at no cost to these fire departments that are part of the rural and mountain areas of Boulder County. So I'll leave it at that. I don't know, Ben, if you could, as chair, kind of either take me through the discussion of or ask for clarification as to how you wanted to deal with this request.
Yeah, with this request, I think the incentive for us to scale it back was that we perceived that there was a duplication of services, that it was being provided by the state. But it sounds like if it's not being provided by the state, then it's not a duplication of services. And on the whole, the view of this committee was that we support this education grant. And I don't see that we would not support this as well.
Thank you. Does anyone have any follow-up comments on that?
I'm glad you could clarify that funding isn't available. That's a big difference.
Yeah, I wish it were. It sounded like it was a good deal. But there was, as we all remember, there was lots of money flowing during the pandemic and shortly after, that has since gone away for various purposes. So am I hearing that you would now lean towards funding this in full, or do you still want to look at cutting it back? There was a suggestion that if you still felt like this was too much in total, there's one smaller piece of the full grant that is training instructors to then train for medical services. So you could maybe cut out the middle person essentially by reducing that part of it, or you could say that's maybe too much micromanagement. Let's just fund the whole thing. It's kind of up to you as to how you want to look at this. Harry, you want to jump in? Yeah, you're our EMS guy, so.
Barb, quick question, if you can just clarify it, and I think you have it on the bottom, but how much money is left that we haven't committed, and what's the total of the remaining yellow and orange grants?
That is a really good question. So let me quickly put that sum in here. This is the amount that has not been allocated, but let me quickly do a sum total.
So we have 814,000 left that hasn't been allocated yet.
That's correct.
Okay.
And there's still 1.65 in requests
And
that
if
have
we were
not
to,
been allocated.
and so if we were to take out the hygiene $1 million request, we would have 650,000 left in total outstanding requests and 814 still to distribute. Is that right?
That's correct. Yep.
So we could fund everything else that's in orange and yellow minus hygiene and still have money left over?
You could do that. Rolling over money is from year to year has proved to be very problematic from a
No. I wasn't going
Oh.
to. My
rolling over.
what I'm thinking, and you can stop me here, is maybe we just fund everything, and that couple hundred that's left we give to hygiene as part of their $1 million request.
That is certainly a proposal before the committee.
And I would like to work through the rest, but that's kind of what I'm thinking in my mind.
Go ahead, Ben.
I'll second that, Harry. I think that gives us context that maybe we don't need to split hairs on, if we can fund this extra 50K to BCFFA and go through these, and we know that we have the funds for it, and we will still have funds left over to give to hygiene. I think that is pretty fair all around. So that gives us, when we're talking about this grant, for example, we are not looking to scale back at this point. We have reached a number that we can fund the rest of these proposals if we view them to be worthy of funding.
Harry, can you report your proposal?
Well,
I just didn't.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm making a proposal. It's just the way I'm thinking about it in my mind, which is I'd like to just quickly, I'd like to run through all of the orange and yellows, and unless there's any obvious problems with them, I could see saying, well, we just fund them all, and whatever's left we give to hygiene as part of their. It won't be their $1 million request, but we might give them 100 or 1,000 plus. And that's a good way to divide up all the money and not roll anything over.
Did we take the big $1 million ones out of here?
I just did for temporarily, just to
Oh, okay.
show.
Okay.
So there's 700. So I think I heard Ben correctly that we're leaning towards fully funding the EMS training, knowing that this is something we're going to try to take out of the grant program for next time and build it into the annual training budget that's in another part of the emergency services fund, so that you don't have to make that decision over and over again. Am I correct in hearing that if we were to fully fund BCFFA, then what we have remaining is $764,000. And without hygiene's $1 million, you've got less than that. You've got about $100,000 less in asks. So I can make this the difference.
Yeah, I like that. I think that makes sense. And I guess we should just review them to be sure that everything
Okay.
that is eligible.
So it sounds like we can go through them. Ultimately, if you funded everything at what it's currently asked for, you'd have about 110,000 to give to hygiene, just to give you some perspective on that.
Yeah.
So now sorry, one note about that is this is the reduced amount that Boulder Mountain Fire Protection District came back with as an alternative. If you were to bump them back up to their original amount, which was 3 something, we would wipe out any fund balance. Let me see if I can find that without you all seeing everything on my screen.
Yeah, I'm okay with the reduced amount from them because the original is
300.
350, and that would be a pretty large distribution for this grant pool to make for many different purchases, and when a lot of it I think we viewed as very redundant items, 20 AEDs, things like that.
Yeah.
We made large distributions, but for big capital like vehicles and not lots of redundant equipment. So I'm comfortable with this number, and I don't feel that we need to revisit.
To revisit.
Original.
Okay.
I
I mean, I think the committee was fairly in alignment with that, but please go ahead and speak up if you were not.
agree.
Okay. For some reason, I can't paste this in. All right, their original request was 334, so it's about 2/3, little more than that. There it is. Okay, so then you've got 4 Mile, which was kind of another one that you were questioning last time. There has been some unsolicited comments given to me outside of these meetings that their crew truck is primarily for fire mitigation, which falls into a different program, which is the 1A ballot measure versus this, which is the 1B. Now, in their response, they did say that they could use it to be called out on a wildland fire. It's not exclusive, but its primary use has more to do with mitigation work, which obviously can lead to reducing fire emergencies, but it's not the primary focus. Go ahead, Ben.
Barb, do you have that table? It was on the last page of the updated information they sent us. I think that will be helpful for the committee to look at.
You bet. Let me find that.
And for the rest of us, it's basically a summary of what their crew trucks inventory currently is and years. This does not include their firefighting apparatus. These are their auxiliary vehicles.
Let me make sure I am focused on the right one. So if I blow this up, so 4 Mile gave this answer in response to what you had asked for. Is that visible, or let me blow it up more?
I think that's good.
So this is what they currently have, and then they're saying they're seeking a new crew truck, correct? But then something about the chassis could be purchased.
Yeah, they said
I'm
they
not
might
sure I
be able to
fully
get it
understood this.
cheaper. I think the way we interpreted that is they threw together the grant, and the initial ask was for a certain dollar amount, and they said, well, that was the dollar amount we had for the grant, but now we're working on soliciting government approved dealers that will be tax exempt and might give them a better rate. So they're saying they could possibly come in less, but I don't think that we should strongly consider that narrative here. It doesn't really affect our view of whether this is eligible or not, I think.
So thoughts from the team on this. I don't. So they're saying this is their current fleet outside of their firefighting apparatus. Is that what this chart is then?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I don't
And then
know
years.
these firehouses as well and the land they serve as well as others. Just from what I've gathered from previous grant application rounds, it seems like a pretty healthy fleet compared to other districts. Just even by age, I mean, their oldest is 17 years old, their newest is 4 years old, whereas others are talking like 40-year-old trucks and they've got one. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my interpretation here is this would be to replace that 2001 vehicle.
There's no 2001 vehicle that I see.
Oh, they didn't include it in here.
Or the third one, sorry, the 2001 Ford F-250.
That's a 2021.
Oh, 21. Sorry. I misspoke.
I mean, I hope they're not replacing it. It's their newest truck. There's a 2008.
Well, they would repurpose that truck for
For a command vehicle.
another use. Yeah.
Which one would
see.
they repurpose?
This 2021 Ford, looks like they would assign it to the fire chief or the duty officer to use as a
Oh, okay.
command vehicle.
Is that a volunteer role or a
4
position?
Mile is paid, I believe.
They have a paid chief.
They
Yeah.
have a paid chief.
So what's the chief drive now?
That 2016, the last item.
Oh, the Cherokee? Okay, here we go. Yeah.
Oh, we'd sell it. Okay.
This is a challenging one. I do think that there's going to be a challenge to, if not actually a challenge to this grant, a suggestion that for future rounds, there be some level of action. It could go any way, but that this is in sort of a gray area, this particular vehicle and its grant. Now, I wanted to look back and see, have we, and maybe some of you would recall more quickly, if we have funded, I know we funded a chief command vehicle in the first round.
I think I feel like we did it maybe one time and I don't remember why we didn't have these.
We did a command vehicle for Sunshine. Sunshine did not have any auxiliary apparatus like this at that time.
Got it. And I know that was a tough decision, and we had funds above and beyond what was requested at that time. Do you feel like you're ready to make a decision on this one? Because while I hear the overall proposal to kind of look at the rest, and if these were put off to the side for a reason, because there was some question about their full viability at the amount asked for.
Yeah, I think there's two sides here. One is, the fundamental of this grant program is to help these types of agencies make big capital purchases. So this by definition is that. And the other side for us is, do we perceive this to be a need or something that we should fund? We do have the funds to support this, but I think that's what we're thinking about right now. If anyone else has thoughts, please chime in.
My thought is I'm feeling a little torn. I wish Doug was here.
Did he get called? He's at work, so if he gets toned out, he's gone.
Torn because you think they don't really need it?
Or precedent setting.
Precedent setting. Yeah, we give a truck like that. I mean, we know that we're talking to groups that are replacing chassis
Yeah.
on trucks. They could use a brand new truck. We said, like, why don't they just ask for a brand new truck?
I'm looking back at what has already been approved.
And they have a 4-year-old truck. So part of the question then is like, why don't you just make that your chief's vehicle? That's not clear to me. But that's why I said I don't know the size of the land and how they're used. So there's all these other factors. It's like I understand that context could be more complex. Ben, you seem like you're going to say something.
I mean, I work with 4 Mile a lot, so I don't want to, add words to their application or take away, but just taking it at face value. I'm not necessarily seeing the demand or the necessity for this vehicle based on the information they've given us in their grant. And especially what we can do is compare this to other grants, which maybe have made that case. I don't think that alone is reason to not fund this, but
Maybe ask it the other way is, does anybody feel like we really absolutely should be giving them this money? Like they totally need this? I'm guessing the answer is that nobody's jumping up to do that. So what that leaves is maybe we don't fund it, or maybe we give them part of it and say, look, if you really want this truck, you got to come up with the other half for it. We'll help you, but
we did that for Sunshine.
Sunshine.
We when we were funding a command vehicle, we funded, didn't provide their full ask.
I mean, what do you all think about that? Maybe we give them half as much and say, look, we just, if you really want it, you got to come up with the rest, but we'll give you half of it contingent upon you finding the rest. Or we should not fund it. But I don't hear anybody saying we should totally do this. It's a great proposal.
The other rationale I would say is that they were kind enough to break out kind of how it would be used. And I think you could say that these purposes for how it could be used fit into the grant program in the neatest way. The mitigation work is a little less clear, and that could be a reason for funding half of it.
Yeah, go ahead, Barb, sorry.
Well, or you're going to say that then they might not be able to purchase it at all. I mean, we'd probably have to hold back that half until they could find alternative funding for the other half.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It could just end up back in the grant pool or something.
Yeah, it's a little problematic.
Could end up going to hygiene or something instead. I don't know.
My guess is that they, just from their financials, I think their yearly budget was in the $10+ million range. So
They could come up with it. Probably.
maybe, yeah.
I guess I kind of feel like we should do something. This is the third time we've looked at it. We're not going to have any more information if we put it off again.
Yeah.
We should just pick something and make a decision on these guys.
All right, I motion that we reply to them with the offer to fund half of it, and they can receive that money if and when they prove they have the other half of it. Was there more to the request though? Or was it just the truck?
There was 9 items. The truck was 1 and 2. I think it was a
Okay, the truck and the kit.
truck
yeah.
and some, yeah, exactly. So basically fund half of the items 1 through 2 if they can come up with the rest of the funding, and then you make them whole on the rest of the grant requests. So items 3.
Yeah, I don't
through
remember what
9.
those are, so I'm just pulling that up.
That was
really
like Nomex pants, SCBA, I think pagers, kind of some pretty standard
It was,
stuff.
yeah, and it was very much in the priority list from BCF.
quick. Okay,
And I feel good about funding all the rest of that stuff.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yep.
Yeah,
okay.
I think this is a very fair place to land. If any of you are feeling that uncomfortable or uneasy about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also-
2 was a LifePak cardiac monitor. Is that really? Oh no, 1 and 2. Never mind. They did that weird 1,2 thing. Forget what I said. Yeah.
Oh, right. The numbering of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So they
So-
basically, we would give them just under 60,000 for the truck.
Okay. I was just going to ask, I was going to do that math off screen.
Well, you can buy a nice truck for 60,000. You just have to outfit it yourself.
Well, that's the other option. They could find something used.
Yeah.
But we'll offer up half, but hold it back until there's some level of comfort that they're going to actually be able to find a vehicle that fits their purposes. Is that fair?
Mhm.
Um,
The amount in the chat is the half of their request for 1 and 2.
Right. Okay, so I'll go ahead and kind of work on that math. If you guys want to go to the next one.
I do not have the spreadsheet up. Do you all have?
So the next one on the list formally is hygiene, and I think
Well, let's skip that and come back.
we'll skip that. And our next one is Louisville asking for 81K for wildland fire and tech rescue equipment. Our note there, consider after rest of money is allocated, which I think we've kind of satisfied our discussion at the beginning of today. And I think provided the funding that we have, we don't really have a reason to not fund their ask for wildland equipment, some tech rescue equipment, and I believe they had some radios in their request as well.
I like that.
There's 30,000 in BK radios.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Hey, Doug.
Doug, did you miss that whole
Thanks.
conversation?
I did. I'm sorry. I just had a fake call.
Oh, gosh. Sorry to hear about that. We just wanted to bring you up to speed with
Okay.
the decision. Do you want to summarize it, Ben?
Sure. Real quick summary where we're at. If we fund everything that's left, we'll still have some left over to give to hygiene. So we like that. We're not pressed to scale things back. We are funding the full EMS education grant. ECFFA had a point that the EMTs is not free anymore. So happy to fund that. Boulder Mountain will fund them at their reduced scale, which was the 220 level, stepping back from their original 350. For 4 Mile, we weren't convinced that they absolutely needed a new crew truck based on their list. So we're proposing to give half of their crew truck. So asking them to meet the other half and not set a precedent there. So that's where we're at so far. Next, we were just beginning to discuss Louisville, looking for wildland fire tech rescue equipment and BK radios. We had, I think my interpretation of our note here is that we viewed this proposal as positive. We just didn't want to cut out some little guy or another department because we were funding this. That was my impression from our last discussion. And I think what we're finding here is that we do have the funds to satisfy this grant.
So the vote is to fund Louisville or the proposal is to vote on Louisville in full. Any objections?
I don't much care for funding Louisville's fire department.
Noted and important. Let's see. Does anybody else join that sentiment?
Was it just mainly because they're a city department, or what's your objection, I guess, Rick?
Yeah, my objection is that they're a city department, and how is this not part of their annual very large budget? You know, how are they organized that they are needing these funds to operate? I mean, they have quite the tax base.
I mean, granted, they are probably well-to-do compared to many of the others, but there's no exclusion for.
Nope, they are in Boulder County, that's for sure.
Mhm.
I would say that city departments kind of fall down on the rank as you have limited funding. So, I mean, I would agree, with Rick's sentiment. This is a tricky one because technical rescue is something we don't often see a need for. This grant program has outfitted Lafayette and Boulder with that equipment, and they're kind of sandwich Louisville.
You could take that request and fund the truck in 4 Mile and still have money left over too.
Which,
You know,
which,
if you want, huh?
sorry,
Which what?
I was going to say, which do we feel less bad or ambivalent about?
I mean, in a way, if you think about just like tax base, equity, and resources, then there is an argument to give more money. I would make the argument to give more money to 4 Mile. They asked for it, it's within the realm, but it's probably a lot harder for them to come up with $60,000 than it would be for Louisville to come up with 80. And so in terms of impact, like, I don't know, if it's gonna make a significant difference in 4 Mile, then maybe it's better to give them that.
Anyone know what the Louisville annual budget is?
Yeah,
Oh,
they
we
did
looked,
provide it.
it was like over $1 million a month, I think.
So, but I mean, that's maybe 12 million a year. And Ben, did you say earlier that 4 Miles is 10 million a year?
4 Miles was higher than I thought. Let me make sure I'm not
Trying
misquoting
to
that.
open up Louisville's.
Yeah.
I put what their full request. It wasn't all technical equipment. I just put that in the spreadsheet. It kind of broke it out into several lines, but if you want to look at that while we're talking, let's see, budget. Okay. Looking at their budget. These, it's just kind of a large
Yeah, sorry.
number. Hold on.
Even if just the monthly are easily available, that would help us compare.
So it looks like 11 million is their annual. So yeah, a little less than $1 million a month. And let me find 4 Mile.
Oh, that was for Louisville, okay.
That's for Louisville. Excuse me. So it looks like 4 Mile is closer to 2.5 million.
Okay.
Yeah, it's considerably less
For the whole year.
for the whole year.
So it's a couple 100,000 a month.
And that includes everything, grants, mitigation. Their property tax is only 577.
Yeah,
have
I'm wondering if as we were talking about that truck for their fire mitigation crew, I believe they charge for those services.
They do for fire mitigation. They do. I'm a client.
Oh,
Fee for service?
that's interesting. See, we have all the right people on this committee. There's so much good experience here. Yeah, I mean, just again from sort of what I think there's some stomach for out there. I don't know that you should look at the truck and Louisville kind of in the same vein. I think those items should be really looked at separately. I know that that's not kind of how we do these, but I think your decision on 4 Mile was really sound and will be supported in these recommendations. So I think Louisville is still sort of unique in how you would look at their grant. But again, I mean, there is some opposition to the fact that they are a well-funded city department asking for some gear. I mean, it could be argued that the timing was not great for them if they had come in at the same time Louisville and Boulder had. I think it would have been treated differently. But we're in a different kind of grant cycle right now.
Barb, why do you say that this decision with 4 Mile would be supported by whom? What does that mean?
The commissioners and the sheriff who need to look at this sort of based on the nature of what they hear from other fire departments. There's a lot of discussion. There's a pretty open discussion in the sheriff's world and the fire district's world about who gets what from this grant program. And so I think the keepers of that happiness are the folks that ultimately stamp the final recommendations. And I think that there is concern about using this grant money to pay for trucks that are not directly in service for wildfire fighting or that are extra that are going to be used as a command vehicle. Just let you know that Sunshine decision was a very controversial one. And the reason that it hasn't been seriously challenged, although it gets brought up all the time, is, you know, I still can't believe you gave that truck to Sunshine.
So you're privy to some things we didn't know. We made this decision. We're like, yeah, and caused some.
No, I mean, you were all you all had the same thought, and as someone mentioned, you did not fund it all together because there was that early notion of, you know, that's really
Yeah.
nice to have money. But we had that money without any other
Requests.
requests on, yeah. This time you definitely have a more competitive pool.
Keep 4 Mile. Let's not, let's keep it how we decided it. Let's not dig that up again. We still have to decide Louisville. And I know when we spoke last time, somebody mentioned, I believe this is the first time they've ever asked for funding.
Mhm.
So there is something to be said. They're not coming every time. This is their third opportunity. They finally asked.
It's a modest ask.
And,
Yeah.
you know, and they are eligible. They fit within the grant program.
They do.
And we specifically put them off to make sure we could fund the ones we really wanted to fund first. And now we've got money left over, and seems like we could fund them. I wouldn't prioritize them over others, but we've saved them for the end to make sure that we're able to fund those that we really felt strongly about.
And if you look at their request, I mean, even though technical rescue equipment was kind of in their title, the bulk of it goes to radios and PPE, which are both things that you've funded. Now again, in the more wildland areas, the mountains, but very little of it goes towards technical rescue and those that are less requested throughout the county in terms of call out events.
Well, in a wildfire, we would love to have them show up and help. And it would be nice if they were properly equipped. So on those, I am 100% positive and in favor.
Does that mean there's something you're not in favor of in the request?
No, I will withdraw my objection. I'm just concerned. I think it's a slippery slope to be financing city agencies that don't have, I mean, unless they have grant funding as part of their annual budget. I'm wondering if there's a hole in the budget that just this year that they're trying to fill.
Yeah, I think Greg got to look at. I mean, we funded Mountain View, and they're a 10-station fire department that's in 2 counties. We funded Boulder, we funded Lafayette, we funded Boulder Rural, who's a bay department. So I don't think this grant's going to be the one that puts us there, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah.
Good point, Doug.
Yeah.
Well, then I will take the move. I will move to fund this fully.
I thought that was a very good discussion, and thank you all for having that consideration.
Do we all vote and agree on that?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I second it. Okay, everyone's good. Barb's like, ready, let's move. Come on.
My
Let's move.
apologies.
Bidders on.
Okay,
Let's go.
it's okay. We're there with you. It's 6:42.
You're getting real close to the end here. Pinewood, I think, was more of a principle about whether they really do report in Boulder County, and 2, whether this is something that would be used in Boulder County. It's such a tiny amount. I don't know that should sway you either way. But this one was put aside for future consideration.
I motion we fund it fully. It is the smallest grant. They can be in Boulder County. It's a weird, lonely stretch of highway out there. And I think we say, we'll see you on the highway. Thanks for committing yourselves to serving Boulder County.
Yeah, they are a rural department that does cover a portion of Boulder County, and that portion is the highway from Lyons up to Estes. So that's an area that sees traffic, and a fire there would affect us in the county, and having a EV car blanket for all the Teslas driving up to Rocky.
Yep, I see them all the time.
Let's do it.
Okay, anyone else opposed or anybody opposed?
Did I get an extra large one for the Rivians?
Well, I mean, it's funny that they came out with these EV blankets and now they're like almost on recall because what they're doing is they're suppressing all the off gassing from the batteries and it can create an explosion.
Really?
And what
So
does
it's
it do?
like
You
it
gotta
creates an
let it
Whoa.
explosion. So yeah. What
So
it
you don't
looks
want to
like
leave it on the car. You want to
yeah.
douse it?
Situation. It's a tool. It's a tool
Yeah,
you use
so
for
it's
the.
Wait, I missed part of what Doug said. So it suppresses it, but then there's off gassing from
So
inside.
yeah, so the batteries are still off gassing, and what ends up happening is you get like the right mixture of oxygen invention and you get a huge explosion.
Mhm.
So that's what we're seeing with like some like EV fires in garages and stuff. Like you'll see
Wow.
a garage door blow off because they'll get oxygen entrained into the off gassing of the batteries, and you're getting more of an explosion. And that's what
Why are the batteries off gassing in a garage? I mean, I guess I can Google this later. Sorry.
it's bad batteries. I don't know why they're failing. I don't know, Maria.
Okay.
Well,
Fascinating. Well, thanks for staying up on that. That's very interesting. I guess I'll have a conversation with them about how safe they feel using these. Sugarloaf, another one you had me follow up on. I just as we were sitting here, I got a response from the chief about so I had sent their follow-up to you earlier today. He just followed up to say the officer radios are old Kenwood radios, just like the ones that are in the trucks. They're all outdated. Some of our officers do not have. I'll put that in chat because I know it's hard when somebody else is reading.
So to summarize the feedback we got from Sugarloaf, they'd asked for 20 mobile radios. And again, mobiles are units that are mounted to a vehicle. They then can use the vehicle power and have a larger antenna. So they asked for 20, which we thought was a pretty high amount. They said that they have 14 apparatus. So 14 of them would be going onto their apparatus, and 6 would be going to officer vehicles.
Apparatus meaning volunteer vehicles?
Sorry, apparatus would mean engines, brush trucks, fire trucks, effectively.
Okay.
And then the officers that would go to volunteer POVs, personally operated vehicles. So that's would be going to officer.
I would say more fund the ones that are in their fleet, not just, hey, if somebody stops volunteering, that radio is now in somebody's car, right?
I think
So
that's the controversy.
I would lean away from funding any radio that's going to be in somebody's personal car. They can have a handheld, right? But if they need the stronger radio, it can be in the brush truck or tender or whatever that they're using.
Yeah, you should be showing, you show up with your Tacoma, you should go tie in with the brush truck anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Did they break it out, as I'm typing here, about which ones were going to be in, or would I have to follow up and get that, which ones were going to be in?
They said 14 would be for their apparatus.
So we'd cut out 6 that would go into personal vehicles. Is that what you're?
That'd be my suggestion.
Okay.
That makes sense.
And with the caveat that those volunteers can have handheld radios. And they do? Is that?
They should from the recent, if they're not giving those radio, I mean, we gave Sugarloaf some amount of radios. If they didn't give them to officers, that's their allocation of resources.
Okay. Okay. Is that does anyone else sounds like I heard about 3 voices of support for that? Harry, Doug, and Ben. Maria, you're in favor of that, Rick. So we just subtract the ones that would go in personal vehicles out of their grant request. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, so 14 rather than 20.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Let's see where we are. I'll do the math on that. The last one is the Timberline ambulance service for 20,000. If you want to go ahead and discuss, go ahead, Ben.
Can I chime in real quick?
Go ahead.
Boulder County, about a week ago, changed their contract with AMR. So AMR is no longer going to be staffing at the beginning of next calendar year. No longer going to be staffing as many ambulances for the mountains. So that means they plan to have one ambulance for entire rural Boulder County at any given time. They'll pull in from City of Boulder if they have extra incidents, but there's some things happening there. And with that information, I think if there is extra ambulance services that are servicing portions of Boulder County, that's very helpful right now.
That's very interesting information. I wonder.
I'm fine funding them.
Yeah.
I
Do
think
you
we
want
had-
to go ahead, Ben?
I think just our initial questions was it seemed like a little bit of a gray area. I think for the dollar input, that we're providing professional ambulance services to Boulder County residents, I think that is a very positive impact. There's a little bit of question of, is this a continuous thing? Will they then ask us next year and say, we ran 100 calls in Boulder County, we want 100 times $500 per call? So a little bit of some questions there programmatically, but I don't know that this group necessarily has to answer those or has the answers.
That's correct. And I would say that I think we should caveat this with the whole ambulance contract that's paid for out of the emergency services tax needs to be looked at beyond the AMR contract, and to do so for 2027. So I'm hearing support for this out of the grant program for this year.
Any
So-
opposition to it or negatives to it?
My only opposition is I believe it should be funded, but this isn't the right fund for it.
Yeah, I would agree there. I think there's like a programmatic mismatch. We can say that we're okay funding it this year, but this is something that really shouldn't be coming to this grant program for.
Exactly. Thank you, Ben.
I agree with that.
And that will be included as part of the communication to them.
Next year, we don't want to see AMR asking us, hey, we can add a second ambulance for rural Boulder if you guys fund us. Like, that should not be coming from this grant.
It should not. And there was the example of Estes Park lending its services down into over the border from Larimer and Pinewood. That
Damn, man.
they need to be considered as well in this whole discussion if AMR is not going to cover those areas. Okay, so I'm trying to share my screen. So here we are. Louisville paid in full, partial. This one we turned to green. We just took out the radios. Take out 6 radios from the 20 requested. And this is the amount. If you, with everything accounted for now, sorry, let me put all this over here. Nope. What did I do?
Uh-oh.
I just spent more money than I
Command
had.
Z, Command Z.
The
That's
best.
right. I take this out. So now it's just, this is what you've agreed to pay for. That's what's left over. 195.
20% of what hygiene asked for. It's not bad.
Be a little bit more, just the radios. Is that what the radio cost is? Because they asked for 57,000. It'll be a little.
Oh, you're right.
But I mean, we're not
significant.
funding their whole ask, but at the same time, if somebody came to us and said, hey, can I have 200,000 to for a building, that would be a pretty big commitment on our part. So
Mhm.
it's not a insignificant amount of money.
It is not. And I think it falls in line with what you've looked at across the board for this round and for past rounds.
Hey, Barb, I'm just confused looking at row, like whatever the partial funding for 14 radios. It says the requested and recommended is the same. Did something,
Did I just not finish out that sentence? I think I was typing and talking. Where are
I'm just
we?
not sure which one is correct.
Which one are you at?
It is row
020.
20.
Sugarloaf?
Yeah, was the request 57 or is that what we are recommending?
That, so ignore this. It was 87.
Okay. And
yeah.
they match all the way up and down. Were there others? I was just
Yeah, this,
oh,
I'll highlight the two
just those
that,
reduced. Okay.
yes,
Oh no, there's a third
this
one.
one.
Yeah. I see
Yeah.
it in the G column now. Okay.
Yeah, I accidentally, instead of moving that over and changing it, I changed those, but I can go back in and fill those in really quickly.
But then this, yeah, the G says partial funding 127K 3 through 9.
Plus half the truck. So 127 was not, it didn't include the truck at all.
Okay. Okay, and then half the truck. So the 127 plus the 59,876.
Exactly. I'll put the full amount back in. And then Sugarloaf. I mean, I think where you landed for hygiene is generous and it's appropriate compared to others. And they did pass their mill levy. It's not enough that it's gonna
Mhm.
let them build the whole department by any means, but you know, they're looking at all the places that they can to find funding.
Does it need to be contingent upon them rounding up the rest of the funding so they have enough to actually finish?
I'm gonna need to check with legal, but I'm gonna recommend that we do not fund this until they have enough, at least to move forward on a very specific amount of the work. So this money will not be given out like it is. Most grants, they give, you know, in advance, they give us their quotes. And because of that, because we know they're going to go out and buy those things, we give them the money up front. But for a capital expense like this, I mean, it could be 2 years before they raise the full, is
Yeah.
it 5 million?
Yeah.
I think that we just give them whatever it is, you know, credit. We say that this is, you know, we have 195,000 for you when you get to a point that you are going to start construction or.
Yeah, they usually have to have fundraised enough,
Mhm.
some percentage of the total capital project to be able to break ground. And sometimes there's still fundraising after that, but they have enough. There's, you know, financial modeling. It's like, okay, at this point, you know, you can start.
Okay.
Exactly. And I believe they're taking a look.
75% or something.
They're either going to do bonds on the mill levy or do a financing something. So I think it helps when they go to the bank to say, you know, we have this amount of money to put towards it. So whatever they fund at that point, when they're fully funded, we would release our money.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I missed the last one is here. So I will highlight the ones that you did not fully fund. Did I miss any? These were all funded. You decided not to go back to Indian Peaks and reduce their amount. They stand at the highest
Funded.
funded in this grant round. And I think ever, other than go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, and I think we definitely keep this in account for future rounds. When we think about, you know, the city departments applying and overall departments applying in future rounds, we should definitely be considerate of these.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see if we can get clarification or guidance, maybe it's guidance from the powers that be up above on how, whether or not we should be considering budget, the resources of the existing fire departments. And if they say, yeah, we really want you to spread this out to those that need it much more, I want to know that. And at this, alternatively, if they say, no, this is for anybody that's out there, you shouldn't be taking that into consideration, then I kind of need to know that too. But I don't like feeling like I have to figure that out.
It's an interesting question, Harry. Desire, I think it's complicated because Louisville also serves so many more people, and they are in Boulder County.
Oh, sure.
So it's like, well, the budget's bigger, yeah, but what is the value of the infrastructure they are required to protect? So then how do you calculate that infrastructure? I mean, the billions lost in the Marshall Fire versus, grassland burned or mountainside. It's not trying to say one is better than the other, but I think
I totally get it. I just
can
want to know
ask. I don't
which
know. I
way I'm
mean,
supposed to look at this.
So,
I think that's why there's a committee.
yeah, unfortunately, Harry, I don't know that you're going to get a really fine point put on this. And unfortunately, they are looking to you, the committee, for feedback on, you basically get to decide. And you've been looking at it per grant round for the cities. I do think that you've done due diligence in saying, in general, we think that cities should fund themselves because they have a much more reliable tax base. They tend to respond within their city limits. So one of the caveats is that whatever they're asking for should be something that can be used and offered to be used out in the plains or the mountains. They shouldn't be asking for things that they're going to use in their city structure fires response. And they've been good about that.
And is
And
that per the grant, Barb?
that's per the language in the,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I mean, if we're supposed to create the guidelines for this ourselves, and that's fine too. Whatever the group decides, I'm fine with. But I just kind of want some guidance so that I don't have to try to
Yeah.
interpret the law each time it comes up.
And I also think budgets have always, the reason why we ask for their budgets is because it is one determinant I think that's one of the reasons why you've leaned towards giving Indian Peaks. Indian Peaks only has a $90,000, I think, annual budget. It's very low. It's the lowest. And so this grant program is giving them a much higher
Yeah.
grant. So as you've been having these discussions, you actually are taking their budgets into mind. And I know some of the folks who sit on this committee are very close to those budgets, the ones that are serving in the position of former fire district member or current fire district member. So I do think that has been part of the discussion all along, and it's a very good one. I know that those that raised the money, or excuse me, those that put the ballot issue forward and campaigned for this, those agencies will be the first to say, we believe this money should go to the underfunded agencies.
Fine with me. So, I mean, would it be fair to say that we should be advocating more for underfunded groups that have received minimal or fewer grants in the past?
I would say that should be a priority.
Okay. All right.
But none of because there's some, there are lots of tiers and lots of levels of priorities. I think if I could look at it maybe in the opposite, that if this grant committee were to fund lots of things for the more funded agencies and not for those that are underfunded, there'd be pushback. I think you've done a really good job of walking a very ragged line to get to where you've gotten on every round, not just this one. This one was particularly challenging. But I think on every round you've asked the right questions, you've had good discussions amongst yourselves, you've done a lot of balancing, whether you acknowledge or recognize it on your own. There's a lot of prioritizing that went in to what I'm showing on the screen.
Well, that's why it took us three
Yes,
passes.
cycles to do
Some
it
of-
because it's not easy.
Yeah.
Because you're not, you are balanced. You're trying to give the more funds to the underfunded, but you also want to be fair and you also want to try to meet needs versus wants. And there's a lot that goes into every one of these rounds. And this one brought you more. It was harder just because you didn't have the money to fund everything.
Yeah.
And I will definitely note, for future rounds, concerns about cities getting funded. That has been a sore point since the beginning. And I think you've kept their amounts pretty low. Lafayette got 96,000. Boulder got 68,000. So you haven't gone above 100,000. Mountain View, I know you struggled a lot with that one, but that was only 61 as well. So the smallest grants have gone to the largest well-funded agencies, if that makes you feel any better about what a good job you've done to direct the money to the underfunded agencies.
But we're almost doubling the number of agencies we're funding with this round, right? If
For
that's
sure, there's a lot of new ones. All these
but just the
1,
number, the
2,
quantity
3,
of them.
4, 5. You've given a lot of money out to agencies that either didn't ask for before, and for new things, new ideas, not just the standard requests that we've seen. So
But we're funding like 20 or 19 requests this time.
it's
How
like
many
20.
total?
20,
20 because
I just want to make sure I took out the city of Five. The only one you didn't recommend funding for was of any amount was the burn building, which probably does not fit into this.
yeah. So we
That's a,
funded 20 of 21 this round, and your list below, I don't even think is 20 applications.
I don't think so either.
Right. So I was just thinking that's like we've done quite a few, and then
14. Mm-hmm.
the total is like that 1.819 plus 2.9 something. I was wondering how much money we've distributed total.
Oh, yeah. So thank you. Where
If
is
you
that
keep going,
amount?
it's right
Down here.
2965.
Yeah. So you've almost, this round is almost,
I think it's almost 5 million over.
yep. And I put in the amount that was left that was not paid out of the spring into this year, into fall. So you had an extra 14,000 to give out
Cool.
over the 2 million. But yeah, this was a big round, both in the numbers, in
Yeah.
amount you gave out, in the kinds of requests you had. So please pat yourselves on the back. I really appreciate all the work. Is there any objection? So now I'm going to put this number in here and it should zero it out. Is there any objection to your moving forward with this table as I'm showing it?
I motion we move it forward.
Second.
Okay.
Yeah,
Anyone
we're good.
I see in favor? Rick? Okay. My next steps are to take this to the county commissioners. Let's see, Thursday. I probably can't get on, I might be able to get on their schedule next Tuesday, but more likely it'll be the one after Thanksgiving, which is because they're not holding a business meeting the week of Thanksgiving. So it'll probably be the first Tuesday in December. I will send out notices to that effect if you want to watch the meeting virtually. And I'll keep you informed if there's any pushback or any sort of discussion around changing these amounts once the sheriff and the commissioners review these numbers. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Very
That's
good.
great.
Thank
Well,
you,
again,
Barb.
thank you so
Thanks,
much. Thanks
Barb.
for going 3
Ben.
rounds. And we'll do what we're going to call not a hot wash. Usually a hot wash is right after the incident, but in January for your normal meeting, I think it's the fourth Tuesday, we will do, and I'm kept notes. So Harry, those points you've made and Rick and everybody else, we're going to go through and decide whether we want to put some hard boundaries around what qualifies and what doesn't, or whether we're going to still keep them kind of permeable. But we'll have a discussion kind of about the comfort level this committee feels in making these recommendations going forward as part of our
Yeah, I
January
mean,
exercise.
I do have a question. I mean, moving forward, I do have a question about other requests from BCSO since they are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That
so
was
it's Boulder County.
Sheriff's Office.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. No, that was a tough one. That was one I did not expect to see in this round. It was a surprise, and I know that all of you really had a long discussion about that.
I think the radio thing is also kind of one for me. Like, again, it seems like this grant is just an easy thing for them to get money versus going to the appropriate funding source.
Were you talking about which radio? I mean, we're talking about radios,
Just the toning method, where it's going to
the
be
Lafayette request for
yeah for the
yeah.
county.
Yep.
I think they have other methods to fund that potentially, but it's probably just more work, harder for them. Where this is an easier route if they
That's
just put it in a grant and then they get it and move on. So
yep. So these kind of third party for system-wide requests. I think we want to ask about vehicles and whether, and then the idea too about that came up in the last 2 meetings about bulk purchasing and whether there should be some sort of request ahead of time for particular items that could be purchased in bulk and get those out of individual agency decisions and put into one hopper, if you will, like 20% of the grant this year will be spent on these items. And if fire districts want to participate and throw their hat in, say, I want 6 of those, great. If they don't, then they miss out. But we'll try to sort of capture some of those radios, the SBCA's, it could be anything really. It could be the life packs, those kinds of things that seem to be coming up more and more.
I wonder how we did. I wonder how we did with BCFFA's recommendations of priorities.
Good point. I'll do some analysis of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One other thing we maybe could talk about in January is I think we do have to be cognizant of the fact that like the taxpayers voted for us to do this. And like, what's the spirit of the law? We don't want to sit on money. So far, we haven't, but I can hear like, oh, maybe it's easier to come to us, but it's like, well, the taxpayers said, yes, tax us to keep us safe. So
Yeah. And how does that look?
Like, and if we're saying, well, we think they could have gone somewhere else, we're like, well, then why are you taxing me? Like, so
Yeah.
there's just that, like the sort of duty to our community to use their hard-earned money well.
That's a good point. Yeah. I'm typing all this up. And what does that look like? What does keeping them safe look like? I mean, it's a blend of all of these things, but that's why, again, the level and depth of the discussion that you all have, I think, keeps that spirit in front about what's going to have the most effect at keeping the community safe when you look at these grants. Sorry, I didn't realize I was still sharing my screen. I'll get rid of that. Any other quick thoughts you want me to capture before we leave tonight?
I just want to know what Doug's eating in case it was better than my dinner.
let's see here. It is a chicken rice bowl.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
I basically had the same thing. Teriyaki
Okay.
rice and broccoli.
Yeah.
We're in that season of soups and
Rice.
rice. Yep. Well, thank you again. You guys are amazing. glad we got this done before the Thanksgiving holiday, so I don't have to bug you. And everybody have a lovely holiday, whether you're skiing or just staying in or just, thanks again for your hard work. And you'll hear from me by email, but we'll reconnect and virtually and the end of January. So have a happy new year.
Thank you,
Sounds
Paul.
good.
Thanks, Barb. You
Holidays.
too. Bye.
Bye, everybody.